Thank you for being here. I'm Julie McDevitt, the director of Palo Alto College's Teaching and Learning Center. And this is our afternoon Friday webinar. And we are very happy to welcome Dr. Margot Moreno, who is a colleague of ours from Alamo Colleges. She's going to be doing a wonderful session on engaging students in the online classroom. So thank you all for being here, and go ahead and take it away, Dr. Moreno. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And thank you for the invitation, Ms. McDevitt. So it's a privilege and an honor. I teach for the Alamo Colleges District and a couple of other entities. So if you want my email, it's at the bottom right. I'm using what's called Prezi for the presentation, and I'll also include that. I do teach quite a few kinds of subjects, and I'm pretty new. I've only been teaching for almost 10 years, and I know I see a lot of your faces. I see you. Some of y'all have been here for a little longer than I have, or a lot longer rather. So I'm hoping that what I share, I'm believing that you'll appreciate it. So, okay, so first, okay, so we have somebody joining. Ms. McDevitt, we're good?
I'm sorry. I meant to mention that I will let people in from the waiting room, and we'll be checking the chat for you. So do you mind if a question comes up in the chat, do you want us to interrupt you?
Absolutely, absolutely. And okay. I'm going to I wanted to do the whole screen share, but I guess it's not letting me at this point. I think that's fine though. Yeah, can everybody see the screen? Okay.
I can.
Excellent. Okay, excellent. So you see the roadmap here. What I like to consider is the student comes first. I'm sure everybody does in the room also. So student coming first in authentic and meaningful ways, and using distance learning or hybrid learning. I'm in a few environments where it's strictly online, or it's hybrid, or it's Zoom. And by the way, we're learning software like QuickBooks or accounting. So in the classroom, I can look over somebody's shoulder and say, okay, great. Let's proceed. Or maybe we need to edit that or modify that. So I do a few things that help the students to feel safe and comfortable. One of the first things that I do is ask who in the room has used Zoom before, raise your hand or give me a thumbs up. So who in the room has used Zoom before? I know everybody has. A thumbs up, yay, okay, excellent. And I might, excellent, thank you, Julie, Ms. McDevitt. I might see people going, Zoom, what I call Zoom face. So I'll say, if you haven't used Zoom before, and I can't see everybody's face, so please forgive me, it's only a certain faces that I can see on my screen, but I'll say, take your hand, put it on your mouse if you're on a desktop, or your mouse pad if you're on a laptop. And if you want to raise your hand, or if you want to ask a question, you'll see once you put your hand on your mouse pad or your mouse, I'm not talking about a real mouse, I'm talking, this is a mouse. Not being cute, I do have students that are like, mouse, what? So and they're not being cute, they're really alarmed when I say mouse. So I don't assume anything with the students just because it's not fair, right? So same thing with the navigation. You can go to mute and unmute with that top navigation bar, start and stop video, and also annotate. So I'll say, okay, students, take your hand, put your hand on the mouse pad, and check mark where you see student. So use the annotate button to check mark where you see student on this page, right? So if I'm wanting them to really pay close attention to where to find something in their software, but they can use my page, for example. So I'll start with things like that, really basic things. And so annotate is great, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Does anybody have any questions about annotate or how to use that with Zoom? Anybody heard of annotate? Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay, excellent. So I am going to clear my screen. And just because I have all of this knowledge doesn't mean I don't get stuck. So forgive me in advance if I do get stuck, because it happens. It happens.
Can you give me a 30-second, like what's annotate again? I probably know what it is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for asking. So if you take your hand and put it on the mouse, on your mouse or your mouse pad, depending on if you're on an Apple or on your keyboard or on your mouse pad, you'll see a trigger that comes up, and it's the ribbon for Zoom. Zoom, yay, who did that? Excellent, thank you, Ms. McDevitt. So on your ribbon for Zoom, you'll see mute and unmute, start and stop video. Can I get a shaking of the head if you do see that?
Yeah.
Okay. To the green, and I see the instructor side, so forgive me if I don't have a similar screen than you, but I have new share, which is a green button front and center in my ribbon. To the right of that, a couple over, you'll see annotate. Do you see annotate? Can you tell me what you do see?
I see participants, chat, share screen, record, and reactions.
Okay, so you might see 3 little buttons or an ellipse. Those 3 buttons may say more. Sorry, I have to clean my glasses. Do you see anything that says more on your screen?
It might be at the top of the screen too, because mine's at the top under view options.
In the corner, right in the corner.
Yay, okay. So do you see an option that says annotate? Sorry if that was loud, I just realized I got excited. Yay, we found it.
Now
okay,
I do.
excellent. So click on that pencil, por favor, and select the stamp, for example, and then select any one of those, either the star or the heart or the check mark or even the button that has a arrow.
Okay.
And then put it near anything you want on one of these tiles. Welcome, to be responsive. Yay. Okay, Magdalena. Thank you, Tony Villanueva. Mr. Noriega, did you put one on there?
I'm full of love.
Oh man, I don't see annotate.
Okay. Can you tell me what you see, por favor?
At the bottom?
Anywhere on your screen that might say you are on Zoom or anything that says, let me clear the.
You are on Zoom. You are viewing. You are viewing Dr. Margot. I see that. I see screen.
And next to that, it says view options, and then there's a arrow.
Oh, I see the view option.
Perfect. Okay, and then
I see annotate now. There.
Andale.
I click on annotate. Do I click on annotate?
Yes, sir. Please.
Okay.
My glasses all of a sudden.
I clicked
and
on
then,
it.
Can you tell me what you see?
But once I clicked on annotate.
You're right there. You're in the right area.
Where's my view? Okay, if I.
Beautiful. Can you tell me, do you see another ribbon when you click on annotate? When I say click, you take one finger and just tap.
Right.
It should be another ribbon. Is that right, Miss McDevitt? Or
yes, another. When you select annotate from view options, then another little ribbon comes up, and mine's at the top, and it's got different, like the stamp and the pencil and the eraser.
The first part of the ribbon will say mouse, select, text, draw.
Okay, yes. The stamp, arrow, erase.
Well, you can choose any one of those. Choose any one of those. Either text, draw, or stamp is usually the best. So if you want to draw, for instance, we can highlight this.
I got stamp.
Perfect, stamp.
Click on it, or select one of those options.
Yes, sir.
Star. I clicked on the star.
Okay, perfect. And then just put your hand not your hand, sorry. Put your, yes, yay. Ya no. Yanotate?
Ya
Yeah,
no
oh,
take.
annotate. Yes, Yanotate. Yes. Very nice. And you see, when the students do this,
Yanotate.
they're thrilled, like, oh, we can write on your screen, how fun. And then we can clear drawings and go to the next one. It does take a minute to adapt to it. And just a word of a tip, expert tip, if you will. In order to get back into the actual video or whatever we're doing, you do want to X out. So you see the X at the top right of that ribbon, mouse, select, text. You can clear all drawings and
Okay, I did.
Excellent. Okay. And then we'll be back in the video part or the presentation.
Right.
And so now we're going to go into welcome and how I help from the students' purview or what they tell me, how they feel welcome. So I create videos using what's called Stream. We have access to it. Here's what the icon looks like. And it is in Microsoft in our apps. And I'll speak to that in a little bit. And it looks like this. I can copy the link if I've created it in advance for a video, and I can put it in the classroom for homework so they can come back to class and be prepared to talk about the video that I've created. It's my video. It's from a PowerPoint that I might have created or taken from the publisher to adopt into the class. I put the ribbon here so y'all could see. It's very easy. It's very easy. You click on create and then you're creating your video. And this is from the Microsoft apps. And then you can see also the additional, I can use another professor's content if that professor makes it public. So let's say I feel like maybe the students aren't getting something. I can take another video that another professor might share from their purview, and those are also in Microsoft Stream. And then you'll see here, this is where I put it in Canvas. I said, welcome, here's an overview of chapters 1 through 4. Here's the link, which I copied. I'll pre-record it, and then I'll say, please come prepared for discussion I'll task either an individual assignment or a group assignment. Group assignments are really great because then I've got them interacting and talking about what the learning is. And then.
Where did you find Microsoft Stream? Did you say it's in our?
Sure, I knew somebody was gonna ask me. So what I was gonna do is I was going to log, do y'all see my screen still or do?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So do you see Microsoft Office?
Right. Okay.
So I have it, you see here the login. So if you type in Microsoft 365 and then go into the login, I just go to Microsoft.com and it already knows I'm logged in, you can see. But once I log in with our alamo.edu page, then all the, many of the apps, not all the apps I'm talking about, but many of them are already uploaded into the all apps. So I go down here where you see the quadrant and then the little piece of the puzzle, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So I clicked on all apps and here you can see all apps. We're gonna talk about whiteboard and Stream is where you can do the video, right? Mm-hmm. And then if I want to go back, I just click on my app launcher and go back to Microsoft 365. And I want to go back to all the apps, so I can click on here.
I'm kind of lost on Office 365. Do we have that?
We do. Where are you? Let me look at you. So it takes a minute. It took me a minute anyway. One of my students said, Dr. Moreno, I have Excel, because she didn't have Excel on her computer. So sorry, this is driving me crazy that I'm so red. Give me a second. I'm like, I feel so red. If you type in Microsoft 365, can y'all do that for me on Google?
I can, yes.
Yay, okay. And so I don't know your login, obviously. Is that better? Yeah, I think that's better. For some reason, the lighting was crazy. So if you go, it took me a minute, but it's your login for alamo.edu, whatever that is. So once you log in there, then you start driving for the apps that are there. A lot of them that I'm talking about are on that Microsoft 365, Office 365. So I'm gonna go ahead and proceed, but if you do have questions logging in, you can call the IT department. I did do that, and they did help me to navigate.
Yeah, but Tony, as Alamo College's employees, we all have access to that, and so do the students.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. McDevitt.
We even have a webinar on that, no?
Yes. Yes. A lot of the apps already, when I say front loaded, we don't even have to go anywhere. We just log into Microsoft 365 and open the app of our choice. The key is to just find out where, right? Like from a navigation standpoint. So let me go here. I had most of them open so y'all could see, so everybody could see. See this one, it's hard to see because my Zoom window here. Let me say no thanks. I'm already logged in, so shouldn't, yeah, I'm already logged in. See, and I even have one for my business and other, but this is how I log in. I have biometrics on mine, so.
I'm finding out that I'm already logged in.
Oh, yay, okay, all right.
And I have access to everything.
Excellent, yes, okay, very good. So, okay, so that's where we can go for that. One of the things that I wanted to bring out, if you will, is the discussion on like, why are we doing this? Well, I've had students with Zoom face. I call it Zoom face, you know, they're just like, what? Or I'll only see their eyebrow, or, you know, all kinds of things, right? So if they partner, I find that when I put them in breakout rooms and they partner with other folks, they feel a little bit like, okay, how do we do that? Or what do we do here? So it creates a higher level of engagement. And it's also very, that the approach, you know, that we're talking about using these apps, they feel like they're the center. And I'll even, we talk about case studies in a little bit, but I'll say, okay, here's a problem, let's solve it. Everybody go into breakout rooms, and then let's solve it, right? So they're using their critical thinking skills, which our employers love, and they can talk about the projects that they've resolved using critical thinking skills. So student-led is my approach. And case studies, right? Okay, solve this case study for us, solve this example. Oh, sorry, we went there already. And then it's highly interactive. So some other things that I use are Vidyard. Vidyard is free. It's not in the Office, the Microsoft Office, but it is free. And I copy a link and then I share it wherever the platform is that's best for sharing. So it's wonderful because it's easy. And if you're like me, don't like, my leaders like to put me front and center, but I really prefer to be like in the back, but they like to put me front. You're smiling because you know who I'm talking about, right? You may be one of those people that is really good at presenting, so you get asked to present. And so in that case, with Vidyard and Prezi, which is the one that I'm using right now, you can record just the screen of what we're presenting, or you can record yourself plus what you're presenting. And I thought it might be fun if you might see that. Here, I can, do y'all still see my screen in the Prezi part? Okay, excellent. Here I can literally create a video and it asks me, okay, do you want to use your your face plus the presentation or just the presentation? So you choose on the tile that you want. And it's really awesome because you know, we can make a 5-minute presentation to just get their appetite going for the learning, or a whole, you know, hour or 2 hours. But the more interactive it is, the better, especially with our, you know, various generations. We have 5 generations in the workplace. We have multiple generations in the learning also. So these two, from a video presentation standpoint, are interactive, and they bring in the audience plus the presenter and the content. And then we're going to go to the next area, which is how to be responsive. So before class, what I'll do is I'll create assignments in Canvas. I'll use just a Jamboard to create these spaces where the students can go and start using the prompters that I've put in the Jamboard for the groups or the teams to be able to work through. And I'll show an image of what that looks like. I use Flipgrid and Padlet.com, and I'll start with, here's an assignment, right? And it's graded, so it's part of their participation. And you know, here's one of the other apps for Padlet and Flipgrid. I believe I also included Jamboard. Here's Jamboard, right? So here's Jamboard. You'll see these tabs. Let me get my annotate. Bless you. Where are my tabs? I'm gonna move us out of the way and get, I guess because I'm in Prezi. So you see 1 through 4, that's because 1 through 4 means I've created multiple white spaces where the students can go in and enter their own information. The beautiful thing is you can also see the students working on it. So, you know, if you have one who may not be as, they may be a little more shy, I can immediately see who's working on the assignment and who's not. And I also use the Kahoot. Has anybody heard of Kahoot? Yay, okay. Well, so I'll split screen Kahoot with the learning or whichever, and or Zoom, and I'll give them guidance on, okay, we're gonna do, you know, students really like the gamification. So I'll give them specifics on, we're gonna split screen, and the same thing, you know, with the book, for example, plus the QuickBooks if I'm teaching accounting or a software application. So I do guide them on how to split the screen so they can see both both applications. Sometimes we'll be doing 3, or they can do it from their phone. I also include podcasts where I'll say, okay, teams, here's your link for your Jamboard, and I'll include a thing on how to use Jamboard just to make sure that they have understanding. I'll put it in Canvas as an assignment, and then and by group. So that does take a minute. It's not like a straight away kind of thing, but it is pretty awesome because I can, here's one where there are multiple teams, and I put some prompts in there for them to discuss the value add in how to master leadership. And so that was using Jamboard. So just front loading the lectures really helps to be able to then quiz the students. And then from a collaborative standpoint, I also included a couple of books that are really great from a navigation standpoint, teaching with your mouth closed. I don't really like to say shut, but just talk to the extent of using pre-planned stations. Also Teams, which is also in Microsoft 365. And I believe I have an image in here. It's the one on the bottom right where I'll put something like, okay, class, the lecture is ended, but please use this area to be able to share your your insights. So I'll use teams from a whole class perspective. And here, oh, let's see, I wanted to emphasize that the more that I give them freedom, the more interested the students are. So I'll assign a topic and then I'll give them these spaces, breakout rooms, whether in Zoom and or a podcast the night before, and then the reading assignment. And then we'll return to the group, the full class, and we'll talk about the topics. And then the other thing that I talk about, or that we do, is I ask the students at the beginning of the class, what's your personal interest in this class? What are you looking to achieve? And then I write the notes down of what they told me. And progressively through the class, I'll say, okay, you wanted to find a better job. Give me an idea of what that looks like. This is when we're in breakout rooms, right? And so I'll bring in speakers from those particular entities, not speakers, but hiring authorities. I have 25 years in human resource management, program project management. So I know quite a few people. I've served on a bunch of boards here and locally. So I'll bring in particular folks to talk just a tiny bit about the subject to get them even more excited, right? And I'll ask them, have your resume ready, because they're going to be hiring, if that's an environment where they're looking to work. So I also ask students to wrap their takeaway into their goal. So I am going to pause there for questions or comments to ensure that we're all tracking to the same. Does anybody have any questions?
Well, I guess it takes time for us to get acquainted with the program. And I got here a little late. So this is like an improvement on Zoom, you would say. Like in Zoom, people are getting kind of fatigued with it. To use this gives you more options to be able to have interaction and variety in the display. Is that kind of the general point?
Absolutely, and integrating various apps to help the students to feel like they have a place to go and play, if you will. We don't have the coffee room or the breakout room, or not the coffee room, but the water cooler. And so I'll use pre-planned stations and areas to go and be able to work through their challenges, to problem solve. That was a great question. Mr. Noriega, did you have a question or comment there?
No, ma'am, not yet. No, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome, for sure. How are you feeling? How are y'all feeling with the applications that we sourced? Y'all did it pretty quickly with the sourcing of those applications, by the way.
Well, like anything, I feel, I see the value. And I'm a little intimidated by, to begin, because it seems like it would be, take a while to learn this. There was, and I don't know how to move forward. Like I think I want to use it, but how can I learn this quickly enough to get ready?
Absolutely. What I did, and I've been, I don't bring the years of experience that y'all do. I was mainly a professional, and then, this is my side gig, if you will. But what I did was incorporate one app, like here you see the whiteboard, right? This I made in 2 seconds. Again, this is from Microsoft app, and this, you can create very minimal kinds of information, and just take one question from the books and put it into one of your applications, and then see how they react to it, right? So I would just start out and I have so many more. Like I had several papers but I thought, well, I'll give you as many as I can. I think that you can digest and then you can look at later. Jamboard is really great. Zoom is really great. The breakout rooms, and the whiteboard. But you know, you won't want to incorporate all of these at once, because the student can feel a little overwhelmed if there are too many apps going on at once. I have one class where I only use one app, one other application, and that's the software that we're learning, which is QuickBooks. And that student was like, wow, I don't know what I'm doing here. So I do incorporate it gradually. Here's some others I put as far as assessment. Kaltura allows for video plus quizzing, so it's real time. You can also include kaltura.com for your PowerPoint with, again, the quiz plus your PowerPoint plus the presentation. In some environments, from an online perspective, I'll say, okay, create a digital dream board. You know, this is great learning, but how are you going to apply it? And so I'll ask them to create a digital dream board of how they're using the information. And so that is where Sway for digital boards and Flipgrid.com, which works very much like social media, but it's engaging and it's bringing the students in from the apps.
Can I pause you for a second?
Absolutely.
I was just gonna, regarding Tony's question, you know, there's so many apps. How do you choose and how do you even get started? It's totally overwhelming. I thought maybe April might have an insightful answer, because she's been leading our online certification class, and she's also, you know, kind of very good with technology and different apps. So I didn't know if you could speak to that too, April.
Sure, yeah, I'll jump in. I think, because I felt a little the same way too at first. It was like you go to these workshops and there's so many out there, and how do you choose? And what I decided worked for me is I just chose one thing at a time. So Flipgrid was actually the first one I stumbled on. And so I've gotten really comfortable doing Flipgrid, and now I'm ready to learn something more. Which is why I've come to this, you know. So I like the idea. I played a little with Kahoot. I didn't love it at first. And so I just decided, well, let's see what else there is. And so then I went to Flipgrid. Actually played a little in Kahoot first. Flipgrid I like because it works for my online and my hybrid classes. And so I even use it in my face-to-face as a makeup assignment. And so now that I'm really comfortable with that, now I'm ready to learn something new. So I think don't try to like learn all of it at once. Miss
April.
Yes, sir.
Miss April.
Yes, sir.
I was just wondering, as you're watching this presentation and you say, I'm ready to try something else, something new, of what has been presented so far, is there any, are you already making some kind of a notation mentally as to what you think you might want to learn next? I mean, if that's possible, that you have already made up your mind. You know, I know it's not, it's a short presentation, but as an expert in this, what do you think you would do?
Oh, I'm not an expert, but yes, I didn't know about the annotations. That was new to me. So I'm definitely going to be using that, because I love having that real-time feedback. And then you also kind of get an idea of who's still awake on the other end. Right. And then, so I'm definitely going to be doing that. So I like Tony. Thank you, Tony, for asking all those questions. Yeah. Because I thought I knew what it was, but then once I started answering you, I was like, oh, I don't know what this is. So I appreciate you, and I will be using that now. I also, the whiteboard. I really like the idea of the whiteboard, because in my face-to-face classes, I do that. I have them go up and they do team stuff, and then they write on the whiteboard. So that's probably the next thing I'm going to find places to incorporate that into my lessons.
Which was the one that was Tony addressing?
The annotations that we did in the beginning.
Oh, the stations.
The annotations.
Annotate.
Annotate.
Got it. Okay.
But you know,
I think that April brings up kind of a good, the whole annotate thing is kind of a good thing to think about, because maybe you're finding something new within something you've been using. And that could be either a Zoom tool or maybe something in Canvas. Maybe it's about diving deeper into Canvas. And the other thing I was going to mention is you might not even know what the possibilities are out there. But I was going to offer Mallory as a resource because she's knows a little bit about a lot of different applications. Mallory's the instructional designer or instructional technologist in the Teaching and Learning Center. And she has a resource that's kind of like an index of a lot of different apps. So you might want to schedule a consultation and talk about what you're doing in your content area. And maybe she could suggest something that might help you enhance what you're planning to do in your class with content.
And I was going to put that in the chat. Can you please maybe put her contact information in the chat? And that is something else. I don't always have an ability to, but for instance, when I invite a speaker to the class, whatever they're saying, I'll be replicating in chat so that the students who are visual learners can be looking at the chat and then they can be thinking about it and or they can save it. So that helps with the strategy in Zoom. Thank you so much, Ms. McDevitt.
So, Dr. Moreno,
yes, sir.
You know, Julie mentioned something that I thought is really interesting. And even April, I think they're tapping into something. There's so much out there for us. And we're at the crux of trying to figure out how do we humanize the classroom and bring the full load of technology to them to make it, make the classroom teaching more effective. But I see that there's a big gap. And by the way, maybe I'm speaking from the faculty senate president perspective. You know, I see a big gap between the availability of resources, which is huge, and the use of them. How do we bridge that gap? And I think we almost need like a brainstorming kind of session. What can we do to be very effective intermediaries in bridging that gap, because you have a wide breadth of instructors with all sorts of experience and background, from minimal to like, you know, millennials, whatever, you know, it's the whole range. So how to do this work, to bridge the gap, would mean to provide the best service we can to students. So I guess my question, and it's just really my question in my head, I don't know if it needs to go out there, but I'm thinking what can we do, what exercises, what activities, what brainstorming to begin this process of bridging that gap, you know, and I think you, Dr. Moreno, where you're at, you're thinking, well, I'm over here in, you know, in HR, but sometimes it's you folks who are like using this every day, who could be like the best resource to faculty, you know, because we haven't been using some of this technology.
Right.
So anyway.
Well, and to clarify, I have 25 years in human resource management, and the learning and the training side I do for the state here. But so I don't work in HR in our ecosystem, but I do have that breadth of experience. But what, you know, my mommy always said, ¿Quién es Google? Like, ask Google. ¿Por qué no le preguntas a Google? So yeah. every day that I you know, I'm like, what? How do you know about Google, Mom? Wait, where, you know, so every week or so I do just a Google search on, okay, I heard about Flipboard, I need to learn more. And I'll watch maybe one video on the new application that I'm considering. I'll just watch the video. I won't do anything. But if the video is engaging enough for me in the first couple of minutes on that application, then I'll play around with it. And then if it's interesting to me, then I say, you know, to the learners, this is something new. I'm gonna ask for grace and mercy. So if you don't like it, ni modo, right? Nada empanada, it's fine. But in the meantime, I want to try it. And I'm hoping you'll have grace and mercy with me, and we'll learn together if it works for us. That's why I always, at the beginning, I always set up that expectation of, and I know y'all do this, right? I'm here for you, the student. Tell me what you're looking to take from this class. And then I incorporate what they said with the strategies that we have. And we have so much, like everybody in the room has said, we have so much.
It's almost too, I don't want to say it's too much, but it can be perceived as too much to the point where people may refuse. Faculty may say, I don't want to learn it because it's going to change. I don't want to invest time because then something else is going to come around. How do we undo that kind of negative mindset about all these opportunities? We just got to be creative. I don't know, Julie, maybe we need to sit down and kind of brainstorm, right? I don't know.
Kind of, I think that maybe we're on the right track here by inviting faculty that have tried different apps to present on the apps. I like, the in-house experts sharing with others, with their colleagues. Maybe that's one avenue. But yeah, I mean, we could talk about it at the TLC advisory committee maybe and get other people's input. But yes, I've always felt that. I mean, the overload of apps and the inability to choose and then getting overwhelmed. I wanted to call on Amanda too, because she was in the classroom just last year, two years ago. And I know that she's very tech savvy and that she used apps in her class. And I wondered if there was some kind of way that you chose what you wanted to try.
Yeah, oh, go ahead, Tony. Did you?
No.
Jesus.
I was going to say,
that was Jesus, sorry.
To me, the interesting point here would be to have, like you say, invite professors who have tried these apps. But to me, the important thing would be those, what? Be quiet.
I think we're all getting Amber Alerts.
Yeah.
To me, the important thing is to find out those professors who have tried and failed some of these apps or have not really been very successful and from those people, I think we learn more than from those who say, well, I tried this and this and this is what happened. So you can try and you can do it. No, wait a minute. I want to know who failed or at least who tried and didn't do so well. Those are the people that I want to hear from.
And I can speak to that. I was always up for trying something new. And, you can kind of tell when it's going to be a, maybe I need to try it again situation or this needs more time. Like I presented on Nearpod at the beginning of last semester, and I actually tried using Nearpod in my classroom when it first started, and it did not suit my needs at all. But looking at it again later, when it had time to develop, it turned into something really powerful and practical. And it just, technology kind of caught up to it, I think, was the issue too, that it wasn't applicable on everything. But for me, when I was choosing new things to try in my classroom, I also looked for programs I thought had longevity, something that maybe was backed by a developer that I felt confident it would continue on. It wouldn't just be a fleeting instance and I'd use it one year and then it would never be around. And I mean, it takes time. Yeah. And you don't know if it's going to work, right? And that's what I would always tell my students. I used a program too called Desmos. It's specific to math. And first time was a huge learning experience. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. But we all just had a good smile and laugh about it because, life goes on. You tried something, it didn't work out, and then we tried it the next time, and it was really fun.
Wow. Amanda, that's so insightful, especially your point about longevity. I would have never thought about that. Like, you're right, it disappears. But the other point, some the cahoots, It used to be like the greatest thing. And now you mentioned my kids went to Cahoots in high school. You mentioned Cahoots, and it's like, oh no, not another Cahoots game, you know? So you got to track that too. Like, you know, what's in, what's trending, you know?
I think if I can jump in, can I jump in? It's really important to remember too what Dr. Moreno has on the slide right here in front of us, that it's about using these tools for student engagement in a meaningful way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at the end of the day, games and bells and whistles are fun, but it's more important that they're supporting your learning objectives and they're actually helping your students achieve your learning objectives, what you're trying to get them to master for your course. And so I think that's it. You know, like Amanda said, you try something on and it's not working, and so you move on to something else. I do hear what you're saying, Tony. Yeah, the students are a little kind of like we're kind of zoomed out right now, right? They're kind of Kahooted out. But again, if that doesn't work for you, you can find something else. But just find whatever works to help kind of. You want the student engagement to be meaningful, not just let's play a game for game's sake.
Right.
Yeah.
And I echo that the statements everybody in the room has made is what makes it meaningful. I will bring in Kahoot when I notice the students are kind of like, oh, it's the end of the class. I'm really like not feeling it. So I'll go in and specifically create something that helps them be successful, but straight from the book. So I'll create the Kahoot. I don't usually take one that's already designed because I'm driving it to their learning. So I think that's really insightful. Did you want me to go into the couple others? Or how do y'all feel? Because there are a couple others that I nested in there. And we have, the time check is 2:17. And then we did have some folks put some stuff in the chat.
It's okay with me.
Sure.
Okay, all right. As far as the chat, I just wanted to make sure. Ms. McDevitt, do we have any questions? Are we good to proceed with the, okay.
I think Amanda was just seconding that. I can't remember who said it. I think it was Dr. Moreno, that you would tell your students, this is the first time I'm trying it. Let's see what happens. So Amanda expressed that also. And then Amanda agreed with what April was saying about making sure that you're not using it just for the bells and whistles, that it's actually, enhancing engagement in a meaningful way, that enhancing the content.
And that was at the top level. When I was thinking of this particular workshop, I was thinking of highlighting things that I've used and not been successful at and or learned from, because certain classrooms may or may not take the application. So I gauge it on the level of learning, who my audience is and when I need it. So I don't include them all at once. But I do learn that this book really speaks to that, right? The less I speak, you notice when I stopped speaking, I heard a lot of insight, right? And the students led, and that really speaks to how much we all have a yearning to be contributors. So, helping the students to be accountable, helping them to drive the learning, helping that synergy. So I see this in a lot of environments too. And forgive me, I can't remember where we were. I believe we already did these. Oh, I just put this workflow for how in my brain, how I do it. I design the assignments from Canvas, which y'all probably already do. And then I take them through Zoom and Jamboard and Zoom breakouts. And then, we talk through that assignment, or I'll give them a worksheet to start them out, and then we'll do Teams chat. And I always incorporate the learner and their background. And I'm gonna zip through these. And then we just have, I believe we were on the assessments. We showed these, just staging and the importance of that. The Socrative helps with quizzes and polling. There were a couple others that that were great for quiz, real-time quizzes. Even annotate, just, okay, y'all looked at chapter 5. Tell me, now that we're in the software, tell me where, the gear or something like that. God bless you, sir. And then I put these 2 or 3 options for everybody to consider. This one is called, actually, let me zoom in on it. Most leaders don't even know the game. This is more from a workforce perspective. Because we have 5 generations in the workplace, Simon Sinek talks about how, leading just with a different viewpoint. And I apply it to leading in the classroom as well, with empathy and perspective. And, if I break something, one of the applications that I'm using, I'll say, okay, we broke it. This is good news because I've learned from it and you've learned from it. But I help them to have the perspective of, okay, that didn't work. We can try something else. I don't do it too often, but it is a perspective, right? We're human. We're not always going to be 1,000% correct. And then I do use that case study approach. This one's a case study approach to classroom management, where they're doing the problem solving. They're doing the critical thinking, right? And I'm not I'm not talking the whole time. And then, teaching and the art of staging, which I'll zoom in if y'all are interested. That one's Anthony Weston. And then I included a couple more things of, I think, sir, where are y'all? Mr. Tony Villanueva, Professor Villanueva talked about millennials. With millennials, that I like this video because it talks about engagement and the 5 R's. One of them was getting that perspective from the student, which I have my notes here. I never use my notes. Sorry about that, y'all. But this is a really good video on the student. The student is leading. We guide them and we mentor them into the learning process, but in the classroom, they're taking the knowledge and they're doing the presentation of it. And then I keep the guardrails up so they know where and how and guide them. I'm a millennial too, ha ha ha, and I'm not, but I think like one. The gamification, it really helps to have them have fun with the learning, right? So yay. Amanda, did you put that?
No, but I am one.
Oh, okay, so here is game on, knuckle bump. It's a CrossFit thing, Miss McDevitt. At the gym we do knuckle bump, and I'll do that in the classroom too. Okay, so game on. Who can provide one takeaway from today that you might adopt, that you can use for student engagement, that you liked or that you care to share? Anybody?
I have an idea. You gave me an idea from the annotations. I mean, I'm not in the classroom anymore, but I typically had students, because I taught math, I had my students check in with me after certain lessons. I taught freshmen, so 14-year-olds. So after I taught a lesson on like solving something difficult, I'd have them check in. And I think the annotations could be a really cool way, since I know it shows your name for like a split second, but maybe even if I turn that off or something, I don't know. I was just brainstorming, but I think it could be used almost like as a stoplight check. How did you feel about or temperature check? How did you feel about today's lesson? Check mark, question mark, or X.
Absolutely. Excellent. I'll do that as soon as I provide the day's learning or the day's lecture. I'll break everybody into breakout rooms, and then I'll go in and ask those particular teams or groups. I do try to stay with the same teams. So once I create the groups on day 1, I go into Canvas and have group assignments based on those teams. And so I'll create those teams for the remainder of that class. for those team assignments. So that's another strategy to help them coalesce amongst themselves, right? Because if they're connected with themselves, and bringing them through the learning isn't as difficult. And Mr. Jesus, you thought you were gonna sit there and be quiet, but I'm gonna call on you. What is one takeaway, sir? Sir, one takeaway.
Well, I really don't know yet, but since everybody's talking about annotation, maybe that's the one that probably I would use also, but I don't know. I'd really have to, I'm taking a bunch of notes here, so I'll have to look at my notes.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I got
sir.
3 pages. I got 3
spot.
pages of, I got 3 pages of notes, so I'll be going over them.
Absolutely. But, and I'm happy to share the
presentation.
Yes, sir. The link in the chat. Oh, okay. Thank you. Oh, here it is. Here's the, sorry, my Zoom's in the way, y'all. But here's the link for the video, or not the video. I thought about recording it for everybody, pre-recording it, just so if you wanted to go back, but Ms. McDevitt is on it and has that on Zoom recording. So wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yes, and well, if you don't mind, we will post it on our YouTube channel.
Oh, for sure. Oh, my hair looked terrible, but okay. Maybe you can edit that.
Hey, we're all in there with you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Do any of us really look that great on Zoom?
Oh no, if I had known.
Well, I did want to thank everybody, and y'all also shared huge insights. So thank you for that feedback. Does anybody have any questions that that I can assist with?
I have one thought, Dr. Moreno, and this is really for all of us, something to consider. I don't know about you, and right now I'm just teaching online classes. I'm not teaching the remote, but one of the interesting things that we're finding is that a large number of students are using their phones to connect on remote. Mm-hmm. And that limits their ability to, either they don't know how, or maybe the app doesn't work on the phone. And, that's one of the challenges, okay, if half of your students are on the phone, you can't say, well, you must participate, when they don't have the app or can't access the app. So just something to think about, I think, especially a lot of our students, even if they do have a computer, their home environment doesn't allow them to be, a bunch of kids running around or screaming. God knows what's going on in the house, but they're compelled to go outside on their phone. So those are the challenges we face, unlike like university students, maybe. But community college students are different.
For sure. As I ask up front, who here is on a phone? Who here is on a tablet? Okay. Who here is on a desktop or a Mac? So I know up front what my challenges are going to be. Okay. And I'll have one-to-one with those particular folks to be able to really help them. So I've had students of all ages, like all ages, and they have their great grandchildren helping them on their phone to do software, application learning. So but the sooner, that's why I call it, uploading or upfront. What did I call it earlier? Help me, Ms. McDevitt, I've lost my word. But front loading. Right? So if I get it at the front and I'm able to unveil that at the front, then we work together. And I do put in my syllabus, must wear clothes, be your professional. You will be so I'll put little things like that to create some guardrails or boundaries.
Yeah.
Every little bit helps. I'll put Zoom etiquette and things like that. It is 2:30, so I want to be respectful of everybody's time, but I do want to thank you very much for the invitation.
It was a pleasure to have you present and share your ideas with all of us. And thank you to everyone for joining the webinar today. I did put a link to a survey in the chat, if you wouldn't mind clicking on that and completing, giving some feedback to Dr. Moreno, and we'll share that feedback with you in the next week or so. But I hope the rest of you have all of you have a wonderful weekend. It's Friday, and thanks for supporting the TLC being here.
Thank you, Dr. Moreno.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Ms. McDevitt, thank you for the vision, you know.
You're welcome. Thank
really.
You. Thanks.
For sure.
You're
Everybody
welcome.
have a great
Glad
weekend.
you're a part of it.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye, Jesus.
Bye.
Bye, Maggie.
Bye, 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 bye.
What's the name of this course?